I apologize for that. We just put it on. It's when you get old, you forget these things. So I apologize for that. So Paul, I saw you're on the call, and you have 100, as I understand, and you're interested in putting on disc brakes.
Correct.
And Paul, I assume you're talking about front disc brakes only, correct?
Correct. Just
Okay.
front disc brakes.
And you have a BN1 or a BN2?
It's a BN2. It was sitting around for probably 20 years before I finally took a look at it, and it's pretty far gone. So I ended up getting a dual frame, and now I'm trying to amass enough parts to put it together before I die.
Don't say that, Paul, please.
So some of the purists on this conversation will probably cringe at what I'm going to do to it, but I'm putting disc brakes on it, and I bought Pete Delaney's 5-speed, and so, or his kit to put in a Toyota 5-speed into it. So I don't know exactly what years disc brakes would fit onto the 100. So if anyone's done that or has knowledge of it, I'd appreciate that.
Anyone have thoughts about converting 100 to front disc brakes?
Nope.
You pretty well take everything off an early 3000 and it just about bolts straight on.
Will it? Okay. So
So Mike, would that be a BT7 or a BN7?
Anything before a later BJ8.
Okay.
But the stub axles and stuff like there's a BN2 we're talking, right?
right.
To BN2.
Yeah, BN2, yeah, stub axles and all that stuff. They're interchangeable pretty well.
Okay. Also, as I've been advised that to throw out to the group, if anybody knows of a frame that has the front and rear bulkheads, mine are pretty well shot. So if somebody knows anybody that has something like that, please let me know. And that was my only.
So just curious in terms of so you're talking about the interior bulkheads, right, Paul?
Yeah.
So just curious, those experts. So the interior bulkheads, are they same with hundreds as well as 3000s?
No.
Okay. Okay.
The bulkheads are for the 100 or just exclusively for the 100.
Okay. My bad.
Mhm.
So anyone parting out 100 that would have possibly bulkheads for Paul? Okay.
Well, Mike's got 100 in parts. Is that the same?
Yes, he does. You posted that the other day, didn't you, Mike?
It's only got 28,000 miles on it from new.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how early of a car is that, Mike?
It's a mid BN2,
Okay.
but it's been hit hard in the left front. So I'm replacing a frame rail and a cross member and stuff like that. But it's going to be a nice car when it's finished. It's real fun to do because all the original markings are on it. Nothing's ever been apart. So it's a lot of fun.
Wow. Okay. Now you're going to have it ready for Enclave in September?
No. It'll be a 3-year project.
We're calling all hundreds for Pennsylvania next year.
I'll bring another one. I got lots.
Yeah, I know you do. Yeah. We know you give Blair a hard time bringing that down, right?
Yeah, sure.
So, okay. So Paul, any other questions or any other things that you're looking for?
No, that's pretty much it. Mhm.
Okay.
Thank you.
So Paul, again, you know, as a club member, you can put a want ad into the Healey exhaust notes. So send a want ad to Dutcha and with the next Healey exhaust notes. But that's how I found my BJ8. I put it in, and this was 10 years ago, and put it in the Healey exhaust notes. And I said, I had three different colors I was interested. I wanted either a BJ7 or a phase 1 BJ8. And within a day, I had a member out in Connecticut who had the exact car that I wanted. So but so you can advertise for free as a
All right,
club member in our
I-
Healy newsletter.
I will do that tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you, Pete.
Oh, you're very welcome. So, Ken Glidden, are you on the call? Let me see if I don't, because Ken had sent me an email today. So those are the questions that had gotten in early. And again, I apologize. I'm not quite sure what happened, because I did send out the original notice a week ago and then sent a reminder out yesterday. And I heard from a number of folks that they had never received it. So I did send a new one out today. Now, the original ones, I had all of the people's emails under BCC, so blind carbon copy. And for some reason, they didn't seem to work. So then when I sent it out again this morning, I sent it out with just on a regular 2, and they seem to all go through. So I apologize for those who did not get the notice earlier with that. But also to let you know, I always have it on the front page of our website. The homepage of the website always has those details. So let me just show you. I'm going to share my screen again. Hopefully it was going to work properly. Okay, so there you can see. So it's always on the homepage of our website. It always has the details for every upcoming technical call for that. I'll also going to show, and so make people be aware, and you saw Dave Malley's on this call, so we are going to have a tech session at my place on January 15th, where there's Dave and his bug guy that he bought earlier this year, and he's going to replace the throttle bearing. We're going to adjust the valves, and so Dave, anything else you'd like to add?
I'm going to go replace the clutch kit as well with the clutch kit, the new clutch and throw out bearing, the new throw out bearing. And hopefully my issue with my motor is in fact the valves. We'll see when we go to adjust, but I think I have everything I need, and I'm very much looking forward to getting the work done, and hopefully everybody can join us.
Great, yeah. So I've got 10 have confirmed already that they're going to be joining us.
Wow.
And
That's awesome.
so look forward to that. So Dave, you want to just maybe give us give us an overview of the symptoms you're experiencing where you think it may be the valves?
High RPM, a rattle in the valve train. It's the best I can do.
Okay, so you're talking like $3,000 or more?
Not even that, maybe 2,000 and up.
Okay. That's
How are your
not particularly high.
compressions?
Okay.
How are the compressions?
I haven't checked it. The car actually runs pretty well. Doesn't burn any oil. It's just I've got this rattle at the higher RPM.
I think I'd be checking the compressions first.
Pete, do you have a compression checker tool?
Yeah, we get a compression gauge. Yes, we
All
do.
right. Well,
Hey,
let's-
Pete, I've got a question.
Yeah.
I've got a question. I have the same problem, but at higher RPM. And to me, it sounds like the valves, the rocker arms are rattling, but I'm not positive of that. But the higher pressure, do I get higher compression springs for the valves, or?
What
motor-
car?
It sounds to
What
me like the
car?
valves are folding.
What
That
car? Are
being
we
one-
What
being
car?
one.
BN1.
Being one.
I'm running a
It's a
BN1 with the inner valve springs removed, and I can run it up to the red line without any evidence of valve bounce. So I would be looking at springs.
But so you're saying no springs or heavy duty springs?
I would say take out any springs except the outer spring. They run right up to the red line on just the outer spring. Everything else is in good condition, and it's a lot easier on the valve train.
Wow, okay.
Well,
So what
That's
was the
interesting.
purpose of the second inner spring?
So you could go up to higher than the valve than the engine would produce. I mean, they would probably go a lot higher, but you don't need them. You really don't need them. And all it
Right.
does is wear the camshaft out.
So if he's going to use just the outer springs and remove the inner springs, maybe he'd want to replace them with new ones and make sure they work correctly.
Yes, I'd say that'd be good advice.
And Mike, is that the same both on a series engine as well as a 100 or a 3000?
Can't speak for A series. I don't do much with them.
Sorry, that was Siri.
No need to apologize.
Sorry.
Dave, I just back up for a minute.
Please go ahead, Dana.
Are you going to put the standard throwout bearing in there or the roller bearing one?
The new roller bearing one.
Yeah, he got all the parts from Bug Eye Guy.
Nice folks, by the way. Can't speak highly enough.
Yep, David's got a nice business down there.
He does.
So Dana, the reason for your question?
Well, just if you ride the clutch, you're going to wear out the throwout bearing, the carbon one.
Well, I guess we never should be riding the clutch.
If you come up to a stop sign, take it out of gear,
Right.
put it in neutral, double gear to get back into first gear.
You're absolutely right, Dana. So, okay, well then just also a couple things that are coming up as it relates to, so our AGM, so our annual general meeting will be the new venue. It's going to be at the Post Office Pub in Grafton, Mass. So that's going to be on Saturday, the 22nd at 10 a.m. So we look forward for those of you who are in this area to join us for that annual general meeting. So I just want to make people aware of those. So these are the sorts of things that we always have out on the homepage on the website. So,
Hey, Peter, what takes place at this general meeting?
well, there will be a slate of officers that will be proposed, Dave.
Okay,
And then, so we'll get a chance to vote on those and really kind of the planning and what the expectations are for 2022. And it's really kind of how we plan what the year is going to look like, what sort of events we're going to have, and ideas for things that people would like to do. And so that's what we do at the annual general meeting. So it is in our bylaws, it's required that we do this. You would have received an email from Rick Neville a couple of weeks ago, just
Right.
confirming that. It also included the finances for the club. So make sure that everyone's fully aware about that. The other thing that typically we do at the annual general meeting is we decide who will be our charity for the year. So it's and we do have a private room. Rick and Charlotte Townsend, who live near there, I highly recommend the Post Office Club. We were planning on going there 2 years ago, and then also because of COVID, that all stopped. So we are looking forward to it. You know, we have seen also a change in the our membership has really moved east a bit from what we had before, where we did have a large contingent in Western Massachusetts. Now we have more towards the 495 belt and east. So we've moved. Traditionally, we've always had our annual general meetings in Sturbridge, Mass. So we're coming a little. It's about 10, 15 miles east of that. So you know, for Dave, it's pretty close for you in Northborough.
yeah, it's a lovely spot. I've been there a number of times. You'll all enjoy it.
And we do have we have a private room there as well.
Beautiful.
So why don't we open the forum up tonight? Are there other questions or comments that people have and would like to discuss tonight?
Oh, yeah, me. I always have questions, huh?
I'm sorry, you do,
Peter?
Robert?
Yeah, sure. Well, let's see. I've been working on the Sprite. I just bought that in April. It's been my project this year. Boy, I just got it to the point where most of the major questions have been solved. I guess I'll share one with you, huh?
Please.
You know, I've had trouble starting the car ever since I got it. No matter what, it just never started nice. And I've gone through the electrical system and put all new parts, the ignition, and you know, and I checked the coil here. Found the coil had a very weak spark. And so I put a new an inner motor sports coil on it, and man, I'm getting a spark. It jumps, you know. It's really all bright yellow. Just I turned the key, no start, you know. So I don't know. I had Donna get in the car and I'm out there under the hood looking, and I realized that pull the choke all the way till it stops on the dash, and it really doesn't move the choke enough, you know? And so I just, I took the cable out and I lubed it up and put it back in, and all of a sudden the choke pulls out about twice as far as it went, and the car starts right up, just bam, man, it turns right over and starts. I've been chasing it for a friggin' year, you know? So the cable needs to be lubed, you know, that I don't know, that's a realization, because I just had the same issue with the accelerator cable on the Sprite. You know, the accelerator was real, it was kind of, you know, wasn't smooth at all, and it was kind of scrapey sounding. And so I took the accelerator cable apart under there, and the cable moved real nice, and the lever up there moved real nice, you know. But when I put it together, there was a scrapey noise again. So I thought maybe the cable was rubbing inside there, you know, where it goes through.
Yep.
I looked up there, and that didn't solve anything. And I put a new cable on it. That didn't solve anything. And so finally I lubed up the cable. It doesn't matter if it's brand new. You pull out the core, you lube it up and shove it back in there. And all of a sudden it's no more scraping noise, and the car doesn't jerky anymore. You know, in both cases, it was just, I don't know, with my old heel, my big heel I've had for a long time, I've never had to do that. And, you know, it works great. But so that's a realization I've had. I just thought I'd share that with y'all.
That's great. Hopefully you didn't get any of that lubrication out of your bedroom drawer there.
Yeah. Well, I do have one question though. I want to ask.
Okay, Robert.
I had it over to a shop. I had the British specialist guy look at it, and he said that I have the carburetor and the distributor and the engine is not a perfect match. I mean, they're okay. It's a 1275. It's a HS2 carb pair, and but he says the vacuum advance isn't working. You know, and then he sort of said, I don't really need it, and I might do better just to kind of block it off than to even leave it hooked up. It's right now it comes around and it goes to my manifold, the carburetor manifold. So, you know, I don't know. I've been wondering about that.
I think you need the vacuum advance.
Okay? Just to leave it? Do I really not need my vacuum advance up to working properly on my car? And if I do, you know, now, I mean, I'd be glad to chase it and make it work, but I don't know.
Do you know what you have for a distributor on the car, Robert?
What's that?
Your distributor. You mentioned the distributor. Do you know what the 1275? Do you have the right distributor for that?
I don't know what the distributor is. No, it may be the distributor from the 948.
Right. And has the distributor been rebuilt?
I don't know. It's a mystery car.
You know,
I understand. I mean, that's one of the things that you know, we found, and you know, we've had a number of tech sessions regarding with Rob up in Canterbury, Connecticut, or New Hampshire, excuse me, who rebuilds distributors, and that quite often solves a number of those sorts of problems, Robert.
You won't get your speed out of it if you don't have a vacuum advance. And you can check the vacuum advance just by sucking on the tube and have you take the cap off, and you can see if it moves or not.
It should,
and they're not that expensive to change.
I should see the vacuum move just by sucking.
You do? You can see it move?
No, I'm asking. I should be able to, huh?
You should be, and when you suck on it, it should suck the vacuum advance, and you should see it move inside the distributor.
Okay. Well,
Anyone else have any thoughts
If
for
it doesn't,
Robert
then the
regarding
diaphragm is bad.
what he's working on here?
Well, where did the vacuum advance would come into play? What, when you're at speed on the highway? I mean, when you're giving it acceleration, is that where?
Yes, giving it acceleration.
That's when you need it. You should have the vacuum advance. I swapped mine out only to find out all it was the hose had a hole in it. I spent, I don't know, $50 or whatever the thing cost. And I did the same thing. I was trying with my mouth. I did it with a vacuum cleaner and just moved it a little bit and greased up the little where it rubs on the top of the distributor. And I got it working. So it's brand new and I don't have to worry about it. I guess it seems to be all right.
Actually, the vacuum advance unit really has very little effect when you're trying to get lots of power. It's used when you're cruising to advance the ignition because the flame rate slows down. So it really is an economy thing, not so much a power item.
Wow, okay.
So,
Thanks, Mike.
yeah, can I live without it, or is it really worth chasing? That's the question, I guess.
If you want your best economy, leave the vacuum advance on.
Thank you.
Okay,
Peter,
Ken, I saw you had your hand raised, yeah.
Related to that vacuum advance question, when you're
Sure.
when you were timing the car, should you do it with or without the vacuum advance hose connected?
Now it should
It
block that off.
it should be disconnected. But
You hear that,
really,
Alan?
Yeah, disconnected?
Yep.
I mean, I have a Weber carburetor that didn't even have the vacuum advance on it. And I guess it still worked.
The mechanical advance will actually set up your total advance. So the vacuum unit doesn't have anything to do with total advance.
Okay, thanks, Ken. Ken, also, you had your hand raised.
Yeah, Ken Gibson here. You know, I just purchased this BN2 back in June, and I've driven it, maybe 50 miles at the most, and I've got it in my shop getting ready to put a clutch in it. But my question has to do with oil pressure. All of a sudden, I don't know whether my gauge is not working or whether I have lost oil pressure, but the engine runs and sounds great. My question being is the connection between the flexible hose and the metal hose that goes to the gauge. Is that SAE type thread so I can put, a different gauge on it to check my oil pressure?
So you're saying your oil pressure, you don't think it's right? You're saying, Ken?
I really suspect the gauge more than anything. But what I'm saying is the threads, between the flexible coming off the engine, and then it goes into the small metal hose or pipe that goes to the gauge. Break that apart, and I want to put a different gauge on that, my gauge, but I'm just wondering if that is compatible thread with, SAE.
I bet good luck. It's probably some real particular thread. You're going to have to use a couple of adapters to get to where you're going with it.
I usually take the adapter right out of the block and put a standard tapered pipe thread in there. It seems to go in very well.
Oh, great. That's the answer I was looking for. Super.
But now, Ken, before you go on there, you realize to get that out of the block, you need to have either modified a socket in order to get it around the capillary tube, or you're going to need to grind down your wrench or spanners. Mike Salter would prefer we call it, and Bob Ewell would prefer we call it, in order to get it to fit. A standard socket and a standard wrench will not fit in there.
Okay.
This is on a BN2?
BN2, yes, sir.
No, I don't think so. BN2 is pretty straightforward. Just take the hose off and you'll find a socket will go right over the adapter.
Yeah, but in order to get that out of you're talking about coming out of the block, right, Michael?
Yeah. You should be able to get it right on there.
Well,
Should be able to get a socket right on it. After you've taken.
But he's not going to cut the capillary tube. He doesn't have to.
You're talking
No.
about the temperature.
Just
sensor. You're
take the
talking
flex
about the
hose.
oil sensor.
that's
I'm
a
sorry.
temp-
Go ahead, Bob.
You're talking about the capillary tube on the temperature gauge sensor. He's
Okay,
talking
yeah,
about the
yeah.
oil pressure gauge.
Okay, my bad. Sorry. Yep, you're absolutely right.
Yep.
Sorry.
Okay, one last question, and along with this question, I want to publicly praise Bob Abbott. I mean, I've done a couple of things with him, and Bob, you've been a sincere pleasure to deal with. And to let you know, that transmission cover that you sent me the pictures of, mine is better. So I'm just wondering if anybody has a BN2 transmission cover. The one that I have is homemade, and whoever did it did a pretty good job, but just curious if anybody had one laying around that I could buy. And again, kudos to Bob.
I think you ought to advertise on the Healy chatter or the Healy exhaust notes. His
Yep.
idea was great. Just put it out there. You'll cover a lot more people that are on this call.
Yep, will do.
I'll second that about Bob Abbott.
I have a question.
Please go ahead, Rich.
My carburetors on the BJ8, in the morning, when I start it up, it's cold. I start down the street, I get a pop out of the carburetor, sometimes 2 or 3. And then when it warms up a little bit, it goes away. Is that just because it's cold, or are they out of adjustment?
And how far do you have the choke pulled out, Rich?
All the way. And it goes.
Are you sure the choke is coming all the way on?
I don't know. It's a short distance when I pull it out. It's like, I don't know, maybe half,
I'd say
3/4 of an inch, half an inch I pull it out.
First, you need to take the suction chambers off the carburetors and then pull the choke and see how far the jet moves down.
Okay.
That will tell you if the choke is coming on. It could well be not actually applying any choke at all if the control's not coming out very far.
Yeah, I can tell it speeds up a little bit when I pull the choke out.
Yeah, that's the first action of the choke. Then the second action is to move the jets down. And there are also little fast idle bars on the side of those carburetors, which are really prone to seizing into the body of the carburetor. And you got to make sure that they're operating properly.
Okay. All right.
Rich, similar to what Robert Scala was talking about there on his Sprite, that, you know, he wasn't getting the chokes all the way open.
Yes. Okay,
So
I'll
that's
check
what
that.
Michael's, you know, discussing right there, is that's possible that, albeit you're pulling it out as far as you think it will go, but you may not be fully getting full functionality of the carburetors, getting the choke all the way open.
Yeah, because I changed all the wires, so maybe there is something. Maybe it's not coming out far enough.
Yeah,
You
well,
said
Okay.
you changed the wires, the cables?
Cable.
The cables.
Okay,
Cable
Okay.
on, but it was just binding up. It just needed, so you got to be aware of that as well. They just bind up unless maybe they need a little lubrication sometimes.
Well, they're new, so I don't think it's a lubricant. Oh, maybe.
well, no, that's what Robert just said, Rich. Yes, he had to go through and lubricate them anyways, even though they were brand new.
I put
Okay.
a brand new cable on, but it's the cable does a couple of turns, it does a couple of bends, and there's a pressure when you get, I mean, if it's loose, it's no good. You got to pull it tight, fasten it down, and then the cable doesn't move nice inside the sheath. It needs a little bit of lubrication in there as well. That's
Okay.
what I found. It was a problem twice on my car, both the accelerator and the choke cable. Same problem.
All right. I'll check that.
Great. Any other questions tonight?
And I just looked today at my Healy. My Healy doesn't, the big Healy also doesn't start that great. I mean, it does start. The Sprite wasn't starting at all. And so I looked at the choke cable and I realized it's the same issue there too. They're just not adjusted nice, because the big Healy's got 2 cables coming out, you know, to each carburetor. And so, yeah, one of them's pulling the choke up nice, but the other was isn't. So I've got to go in there and do some adjustment, make sure that they both work nice. And, you know, and if they don't pull out all the way, I'll know I have to lube the cable.
Or also make sure you get the cable adjusted properly too. It's not just lubrication.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's both.
Yes.
I have another question.
Please.
Someone here was mentioning the throw-up bearing they got to replace. Who was that?
Right here.
David Malley, and that's on it. He's talking about on his Sprite, Rich.
On a Sprite though.
Yeah. Oh, I'm talking about the BJ8, but I think the throwout bearing is probably the same. What is it? It's not carbon. What is it made of?
Carbon,
Is it carbon?
Carbon.
yeah, carbon.
So that throwout bearing is stationary. It doesn't roll. It doesn't spin. Right?
Right.
Correct.
Okay, so when you have when you're using your clutch and you're at a stop sign or something like that, and you're holding your clutch in, you're actually wearing out the carbon.
Right, don't hold, that's the one
Carbon.
thing that what Ted talked about. You don't want to do that, Rich. When you come
Right, 'cause-
into, you want to take it out of gear and leave it at neutral.
Yeah, because the carbon is stationary and it's rubbing against, what's it rubbing against? The pressure plate? It's rubbing against the pressure plate.
Yeah, the arms on the pressure plate.
Yeah, and it will wear out your carbon because the throwout bearing doesn't spin. It's
It's actually a polished surface that it's running against, and carbon will run on a polished surface for a very long time before it wears out. It's
Right.
not unlike a commutator in a generator.
right. I don't know why they call it a throwout bearing. It's not really a bearing at all, is it?
There are such things as carbon bearings.
Okay, that's all.
But again, the best practice is to leave your car in neutral when you're at a stop sign or
Yes.
a traffic light.
Right.
Yep.
I have a question.
Hang on.
Hi, guys. So I took Pete's previous example to heart, and I bought a secondary fuel pump for the I have a 67 Sprite. And my question is, I understand I'm going to have to wire it up so it has its own power, and with a switch that will toggle between the two fuel pumps. But can I put them in line, or do I have to do?
You can put them in parallel, Alan.
In parallel, yeah, one right after the other, right?
Yep.
Well, that would
And
be
again,
serious.
so is it a facet pump you got, Alan? Do you know? The
I don't
auxiliary
know.
pump?
I got, it's a Amazon $13 pump. It's supposed to be secondary pump, but it's just a little pump. Since it's a fuel pump, it doesn't look that sexy. The one that's in the car got a lot more parts to it, it seems like, but
So how, do you know what pressure, what PSI it has?
it
Okay.
doesn't say. It doesn't say.
So I understand you get it on Amazon, that's fine.
Yeah.
But how did you spec out what you got for this auxiliary fuel pump?
It was supposed to be for a 1275 engine. For the 1275 motor. And so I haven't started it up yet, but I put it in parallel, and I'm just wondering if that's okay. Like, does
Put
it?
it in parallel or in series?
I'm sorry. Series.
One right after the other.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So I was just wondering, like, so when you turn it on, it's going to be pushing through the other one, or vice versa. The main one is me pulling through that one.
That's right. That's right.
Right. And so is there any impedance there at all, or?
I've got some info on that. Ken Gibson here. I have a full custom 51 Mercury with a flathead with dual Strombergs on it, and they only run at 2 to 2.5 pounds PSI. And for 35 years, I have run dual fuel pumps in series in the same line. They're literally only about 8 inches apart with a toggle switch, and I have never had a problem. And as far as regulating the pressure, you can put a pressure regulator after the two pumps, between the two pumps and your fuel block or carburetor. And I've never had a problem.
Have you tried running them both at the same time?
I do not do that. No, sir.
I thought it makes it go faster.
If you know anything about Stromberg, 97 carburetors, you don't want to do that.
So what would be the behavior if the pressure is too high on the engine? What would
The needle valve in the carburetor will be forced open and the carburetors will flood.
And it will literally pour out everywhere.
Correct.
Pressure for our cars is like about 4 pounds, isn't it? What's the correct pressure? We haven't mentioned that here yet.
Maximum of 3.5 pounds, I think.
3.5. So we want our pump to be in the range of what, like 2 to 3?
2 to 3.
2 to 3.
And just for the record, my bug eye's 2.5. Runs fine.
Thanks, Richard.
So I
Okay.
have a pair on the back of my big Healy. I have the original SU pump, and then I've got the little facet pump back there. And yeah, I have a 3-way switch, and off, one or the other are off, so it's a nice, it's a great arrangement. Every once in a while, the SU pump is the one that always poops out,
Right.
But I leave that one on most of the time, until it poops out, and then I fix it, in the points or whatever, and then go on with life, But I
Yeah,
used
the
to,
last 2 Sprites I've done, I haven't even put on SU pumps. I've just had facets. The other cars I have 2. I have an SU plus a facet, but the last 2 Sprites I've only run facets. I haven't had a single problem.
yeah, the only thing I don't like about the facet pump is that they run continuously rather than the SUs pump and then they stop.
That's true. Yep.
So I always liked the sound of them stopping, and you could tell now, and a lot of the sound of them gave you clues as to what was going on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you that the inline fuel pumps, the cylinder types, they're available at almost any parts store, and they'll run on either positive or negative ground.
Good.
Okay. Other questions tonight?
One last question. I had to take the axles apart. I think I mentioned last time in my long saga, I'm putting disc brakes on the back of the car. I did actually get the hubs off finally, and the trick that Bob Abbott and others told me about with the wood chisel worked like a charm. I'm an expert now. So I can do this in my sleep. But so I pull the axle out. I got the little hub part off, and I've used a wheel puller. The whole hub came off. This is the hub that has the four lug nuts that hold the whole thing on. They hold the other hub on. They hold the spindle hub on, right? So when I pull that off, the whole bearing came off all at once, and then it looks like there's a seal on the back of it.
Yes.
This car was redone. I don't think it's that old. Do I have to change? It looks healthy. Do I have to change that bearing or those seals? I mean,
If the lip of the seal is soft and pliable and the ring of the little spring is underneath it, it'll probably be just fine.
Okay. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, you check the bearing, make it go around, see if it feels nice. If it feels good, maybe you can get away with just using it. Although new bearings are only like, $10 or maybe $5, brand new bearings. I just changed them on my Sprite. I put a sealed bearing on instead of the kind that were on there. And I don't know, that might keep them from leaking so much in the future.
Okay. And so the other.
So Alan, was it leaking at all?
No. This is all this is just self-abuse. The car was doing fine, right? I mean, it was It's just me doing this project because it felt like the thing to do. But so when you go to put it back on, right? They use that, I think that Permaseal, or what do they call that gray, like liquid gasket stuff, right? There's an O-ring in there. There's like, you can see there's a channel for an O-ring,
Yep.
but I think they just used Permatex or whatever it's called, right? This like gasket maker.
Well, what was there also a paper gasket there as well, Alan?
No. It was just this. That's why I couldn't get the thing off, because it was like kind of glued on.
Oh, no.
You know what I mean? They use that. So is that okay just to use that?
No, it's not nice.
I
You should
mean,
have an O-ring there, and you should have a paper gasket there.
Right.
You don't need any sealer on the O-ring, but you can put a little sealer on the gasket if you want.
okay. Yeah, because I mean, when I took it off, even the O-ring itself looked like it'd been like created from that.
No.
It was like caulk. I mean, or I don't know what it is, but it's like that. That's why I needed to have a chisel to get the thing apart, because it was kind of glued together. So that's not really a good strategy.
No, there's a paper gasket there.
An O-ring and a paper gasket.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'll go that route then.
Yeah. Again, if you go on to look at Guy's website, he sells it as a whole kit.
Oh,
okay. It's $12.
Now you're talking real money.
Yeah,
okay.
right.
Jesus, you guys are killing me. All right. I like that idea. I mean, it seems like I didn't understand how that would work, because that goo wouldn't get into the bearing itself, but it was working. It seemed like it wasn't a problem, but whoever they did a bunch of stuff to this car. So I'm just trying to make it better. And the other thing is, so now I have these axles out. I had this guy look at the car when I first got it, and he said to me that I needed shims in the differential, right? Is there play like in the differential that you can fix with shims of some sort? Does that make sense?
You're getting into tiger country here.
I'm afraid. Well, young guy.
You're talking about backlash, right, Michael?
That's right.
It's called backlash.
That's right. Backlash is, and it's not something that your average Joe just picks up and puts a few shims in. You do have to do it correctly. Leave well alone if it's working and not making any noise. Otherwise, really do some reading before you get into changing the backlash in the car and the differential.
Oh, okay. I mean, I don't know why he said. I mean, why he thought that. I mean, you looked at it.
So do you hear anything when you're driving the car? Is the differential making noises?
No, I don't think so. I'm not an expert. I haven't driven it that much.
Well,
Everything
Alan,
makes noise when I drive this car.
When you go to first gear and you put it in reverse and you let the clutch out, do you hear a clunk at all? A little bit of a clunk between reverse and first?
No, not that I'm aware of.
No.
It's hard to get.
Alan, now that you've got the axles out of the car, right? It's probably worth removing the differential and have someone go and check it for you to make sure that you don't have any issues there. And do you know, does that have a 3.9 diff in it? Do you know? Okay, well.
Oh, so the recommendation is to drop the whole thing? Oh man.
No, it's just a pumpkin. It's not a whole thing. There's 10 screws, 10 bolts, nuts and bolts. It pops right out.
After you've taken the drive shaft off.
Right, but he's got the drive shafts out already.
Thanks for that tip. But the wait, it's not the whole unit?
No, the pumpkin at the end, not the axles,
okay.
Not the axle tube. You just want to take out the differential.
We call it the meatball.
Yeah, the thing in the center.
Yeah,
yeah, it's the
I
pumpkin.
thought that was all one piece.
No.
Oh, okay.
It's two pieces.
Okay.
It comes out pretty easily, and when you take it out, it's got the number stamped on the top of it, and it'll tell you what gears they are.
Right.
And then you can physically look at the gears, and you can see if they're corroded. You can turn it with your hand. You can tell if there's lash in it. There's a lot you can tell right there.
So I'm gonna take the cover off, the back cover with all the bolts on it,
Yeah,
right?
Yes,
And now I'm
it's
looking
the front
inside that.
cover. It's not the back cover, it's the front cover.
Oh. Okay, so you disconnected the universal joint?
Yes,
Right.
you have to drop the drive shaft.
Okay, and then, okay, and you're taking the front cover off. That's the
Yep.
meatball inside there?
Well, yeah, again, it's
Okay.
what it's called. That's called the differential. That's the pumpkin. And so it's either, the differential on that should be either a 3.7, a 3.9, or a 4.22.
Okay,
Don't forget to buy a new gasket for it.
Right.
I got the glue. What do I need gaskets for?
No.
Bubble gum
Oh,
works.
there you go.
Okay, so if I take that out, I should bring it to somebody? Like what, the Mansfield Pete?
Well, I mean, Bob Abbott could look at that for you, or Bob Nicholson, or
No, you
there's a number
can't.
of
Bob
folks in the
Abbott
area that
can't
could
look
look at that for you.
Take it down to quantum mechanics.
right,
Quantum can do.
Esposito in Connecticut.
Yeah.
right.
Alan, where are you located?
I live right around the corner from Pete.
He's in
I live
Sharon, Mass.
Sharon, Mass.
Oh, you're up in Massachusetts. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but quantum mechanics is in Oxford, Connecticut.
What would I do? Just send it to him or something?
Yep.
No,
Well, I would take it down to him. You don't want to ship
Alan,
that.
unless
That's
it's making
pretty
a hell of a
expensive.
noise, I wouldn't be playing with it.
Yeah, Alan.
Okay, I'm
you
good.
can- you can
Leave it
talk-
alone.
I don't want to mess with that one.
They're bullets. They
I
don't-
didn't like taking and I'm okay. I can live with that. I'm good. One last question though, because I haven't driven this car a whole lot, or cars like this. So this car, when you're in first gear, it grinds. Like when you come up to a stop,
Gotta be
you gotta,
stopped.
you can't just, it's not like, I guess it's not what, synchro mesh or something. You have to,
Not synchromesh, you're right.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Okay. So that's like standard operating procedure then, right?
Right.
No Healy's ever had a synchromesh transmission.
On the
Okay.
first gear, when you get up to a light, you have to kind of pull it back towards second gear to line up your gears.
Yeah.
before you Go into
Yeah.
first gear.
Yeah. Otherwise, yeah, exactly.
Otherwise it
Okay.
won't go.
So that's the technique I figured out. I'm just like, I just want to make sure I'm not, doing the wrong thing per se.
That's how you do it.
Okay, it
So,
sounds
guys,
great.
I
I
need
mean,
to run. I've got another Zoom meeting, but Rick Neville's going to take over, so you guys can keep talking. Hope you guys have a great holiday. Our next call will be on January 10th, but Rick will be taking over from here. So
Okay.
talk to you guys later. Have a great holiday.
Thanks, Pete.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Pete.
so I'm good. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Well, I move we adjourn. I wish you all happy Healy days and happy Christmas, New Year's, until we meet again.
Take care.
Thank you. See you then.
Take care. Bye,
Okay.
guys.
Bye, guys.
Merry Christmas.
Good job, Rick.
It's been fun.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.